Poddin My Noggin, hosted by CK Sims, creating a platform to elevate, educate, and heal by creating a space where people can share their stories of struggle, triumph, and redemption. CKS Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Episode of Poddin My Noggin. And today I am joined by Anna Priz. Okay. See, I was really struggling with the Z and the Y, right? I was like, maybe the Z is like silent and it's just...
It's just backward. Like it should be like
the other way around.
PRYZ, but it's
There we go.
PRZ.
So, Anna Priz. So I have a story to tell you. So, you messaged me quite some time ago, right? Through the Medium, and we set this up. And I had quickly viewed your profile page and read your story, and I was like, I love this mindset. I want to talk to this person. So then I think it was just this past weekend. I had some spare time. I wasn't working, and I'm not on social media anymore. I took myself off this summer, right? Because it was just affecting my mental health. But I popped on Instagram real quick, and I went to your page, and I'm like, the moments that I had, I'm like, she's the house coat lady. It's called manifesting. Look it up.
Yeah, I know.
And I literally, I have goosies. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, that is so fascinating. Because for me, the algorithm when I was on Instagram, for the most part, had me figured out. I liked upbeat, positive, like it was pretty good for a while. And used to pop up on my feed. And I just loved it. I just loved when you were, are you screaming at God or the universe? I don't know. But like you're just screaming at someone and you're ranting, and I always found them very uplifting, but also comedic and just in time.
So all the things that it's supposed to be. So
yeah. So I have to ask. Like, I want to talk about your story because I think your story is really quite interesting. But I have to ask because here's the God. You're a celebrity, I guess, and I can't speak. I'm starstruck. So here we are, almost a year, well, over a year since I was packaged out for my job, my corporate job, and was like, holy crap. I'm like, what are we going to do now? And I just sort of had this sort of come to Jesus moment that I'm like, you know what? You've lived in fear for so long. You just need to start doing things that you love to do, that you've always wanted to do, that you would never think that you could do. And one of the things I've always wanted to do was have a podcast and connect with really incredible people who went through adversity and came out on the other side defining their own version of success. Like, I want to tell that story, and I want people to hear that story. So I took the leap and recorded my first podcast on December 31st last year. And it's been just a fun journey ever since. What was it for you? What was that defining moment that was like, I'm going to put myself out there in a vulnerable way, right? Because it's comedic and it's fun, but I think you have to understand that there's vulnerability in what you're doing as well.
It was two different times. Like one when I started creating content and had just been doing trends, and like I was just messing around because I lost my job during COVID and I was home. It was like I needed a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And what better way than to spend 12 hours a day on TikTok? And then it was Thanksgiving of 2020, and I posted and I said, how do we tell them that we're never coming back to Thanksgiving because it's so fun at home alone where nobody makes you cry? And that was the first time I ever went viral. And it was that little moment where you're like, oh, people just need to know that they're not alone. People just want to know that other people have family struggles, that other people are having, life is hard, and we don't talk about that a lot. And other people just want, it kind of clicked because I already knew because I had learned a long time ago that I'm not as unique as I think I am in the best way, in that any experience you're having, somebody else is having, but not everybody knows that. And I did. So that was the first one where I kind of remembered that and said, oh my God, I need to remind people that we're not as unique as we think we are and say all those little things out loud for people. And so, the second time I went viral, I said, I want to do no things. And it was so simple, but it was just like acknowledging that I don't want to do this. Like I don't, today is hard and I don't want to. And they're just these little things that people are like, wait, me too. And then when I decided to become, when I knew I had to do this full time, like when I knew I had to be this person who was this safe space for other people to feel their feelings unapologetically no matter what they were. Um since content creation, I've also sort of branched out and I'm kind of in this season of saying yes. And so I do some of these live stage shows and I was just kind of feeling it out, right? I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, but I committed in the spring when I had some time off work. I took time off work, and I booked a bunch of shows in a row, and I did Denver, uh, San Diego, LA, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle, back to back. I drove out there. I did all these shows, and we got in the car to drive home, and I knew I was like, I can. The box is fully shattered. Like like whoever I was before all of this, like I had kind of been trying to piece together. I had lived in this glass box and it shattered. And for the few years of the pandemic, I was kind of trying to like tape it all back together.
Hmm.
But that was the moment where I realized like this box isn't going back together. This is what I have to do. Like I have to be this person who goes
Yeah.
out and makes these spaces and just makes people feel less alone, and also like just I hate the word authenticity, but like being so honestly myself out in front of people and
Why
just
do you
giving,
hate the word authenticity? I have to
only
ask.
because I just think it's like a little bit like people maybe not overuse it, but they're like, oh
Trendy?
yeah, it's a little bit trendy where it's like, but it's true. There's nothing about my content is simply authentic. It is just me being myself. It's even to that point where somebody asked me, he goes, "How are you brave enough like to post on TikTok?" I can't like get into the content creation thing. And I said, "Well, I created an entire platform and an entire brand that is just me being myself." And I
How
can't,
awesome is that?
yeah, it's not, I don't, it's not scary to be me. I mean, it used to be when I
I
wasn't
know.
sure, the square pegs in the round holes of the world, and I but the more I put myself out there as the square peg, you're like, we're all square pegs. Nobody knows what they're doing.
I think it's really beautiful actually to hear you explain that in such a way. And there were so many things that you said that were like little light bulb firecrackers going off in my brain too. That I think for people who have been on a journey of healing and um, realizing that what once was believed to be the truth is not actually the truth, and
Yeah.
that we are meant to fulfill our purpose in whatever weird, strange, perfect, obscure way possible that makes sense
Yes.
to us. I think we take for granted sometimes that other people know this, right? Or that
Yes.
our knowledge is like, oh, I'm just learning this now. Most people already know this, but I don't think that they do.
It's 1,000%. I never talked about it before because I just assumed I was the person in the room who knew the least. Like, and I don't know where that comes from. Where you're like,
I lived
everybody
it.
must know more than me. And then you get out there and you start saying stuff, and people are like, wait, you just broke my brain. And I'm like, you didn't know that? I know something you don't know? And then just kind of being like, well, I guess people might not know any of the things I know. And that's another, like, when people are like, you're so brave. And it's like, it's not brave once you realize, like, oh, I can say anything
You
because
can.
I know somebody, it might only be one person in the world, but somebody is going to find it relatable and need to hear it. And so it just gets easier and easier to put myself out there, to the point where sometimes I forget that that's not normal, because I do spend so much time in these spaces where I get to freely express my brain. Where I was talking to someone once, and you could just see their eyes get bigger and their jaw kind of dropped. And she said, "Oh my God, your vulnerability is arresting. Like, nobody talks like that." And I said, "Oh, I
How
just,
wonderful is that compliment?
I know." I was like, "Oh, this is just my life now. I just get to be myself out loud, and in every way that I am, and in every mood that I have, and it's just like I can't believe this is my life."
So this has become your life, and that's amazing. I think to be able to be truly yourself. I actually chose a
Whoever
different
that
word
is,
than
right?
authentic,
That's a
right? Exactly.
daily, yeah,
It
yeah.
changes because we're all moody, and the crystals and the sun in Capricorn. I don't know all of the things, but it's all connected. We're all energy, right? So,
The moon
um,
is in Libra today.
oh, see, okay, perfect. So you know this stuff, but
I
I just
don't.
know I get affected, and I'm like often like, why do I feel like this today?
Hmm.
And my friend will say, "Oh, it's probably the moon," and I'm like, "Oh, you're right. You know, it's probably the moon." I think so. My question is, you found success in authenticity,
Hmm.
okay? Does it ever get exhausting? Is there a component of it that where you get, because you're in the spotlight, you have followers, you have an expectation when people meet you, I guess. Do you ever get tired from it, or do
That
you want
word
to?
comes. That word comes back. Authentic, right?
Yeah,
I'm so, to my own detriment, authentic in a way where if I don't have it in me, I don't do it. If I don't,
good.
if I'm exhausted, I don't do it. If it feels like too much, I don't do it. If I don't have something, I won't force myself to come up with something. I
So it's
I've
not
set myself
just
up
the show.
to
It's
succeed. Yeah, in so many ways where, like, I mean, to the point where I have a stage show where people pay money to be there, and one night I cried for 45 minutes.
I love this though.
I I
I'm living for it because I love that. I
Yeah, I
just
just, and they got it. Like, they're like, "No, like, we've the reason we follow you is because you show up as you are." And, like, yeah, unfortunately this is what we got today, but, like, it was this experience that they'll live with for the rest of their lives. Like, I went to see this girl I really admire, and then she was so human to the point where it was like I had been on the road for 14 days. I've been in the car for like 96 hours, and it was the last night. And it was the last night. So it was just like everything came out at once. And, but is it It's not that Here's the thing. I've set myself up to succeed. The hardest parts are, I don't have, I think, a lot of the hardest parts that that other content creators have, because I can just show up and say, I don't have it. And that's the content. And we go from there. And I think even in that, I'm creating that space where people are like, even the people, she's not doing it either. Like, she's not forcing it, and not, I mean, not to say I don't push through things, but I mean, I did. But, like, even I have a daily morning show, right? And that's a big commitment. And I give myself one day a week to, like, mess it up, right? Like, either forget to do it or be late to it, whatever it is. And then, but I'm like, we talk about it. Like, the people, who watch my show, it's like, "Hey, so sorry, like, this is the day." And even to the point where people are like, "I just assumed it was the day," and kind of putting that into the bit. And I don't know, just setting my life up for success. I even said, after this last weekend, I had a show in Chicago, and when you're in a room full of people who are the correct people, and who are the people who want to be in that room with you, it does not exhaust you in the way
oh, I get that.
that being in a room, like my old job. Like, I was an event planner for 13 years, and I would need like 4 business days to be dead. Like, couldn't move, just so emotionally and physically drained from being that customer service person for all of those people. But when I'm at one of my shows, or I'm dealing with my community, it is like, how did this happen? And it is just because I have the world as the community pool to pull out of. You're just so much more likely to get these magical creatures, truly. And I've never experienced anything like it, and I can't believe that I'm the people that pulls those people out of the universe.
Why can't you believe that?
I was so resolved to be who I had always been. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it every day is crazy to me. Like, if who I was 4 years ago was face to face with me today, it would be like, I don't know who you are, and I would also be like, I also don't know who you are. Um, just I was doing what I thought I was supposed to do, and it had never really been laid out to me that I say this in my show. People tell you you can be whatever you want to be, but there's like 90 stipulations on it, right? And it's like, it has to be a thing that we would be proud to tell our friends about, and it has
Mm-hmm.
to be the thing that would make you enough money to live a life that we wouldn't be embarrassed to tell our friends what our kids doing. And this kind of complicated relationship with your peers and your, parents and your teachers, and all of this. And I mean, I even remember being in college, and even my teacher being like, I don't know that this is going to be the right career for some of you because the pay won't be high enough. And it was like, we don't have any other conversations other than like, you need a job that pays this much money so you can have this life. And it's like, well, do I have to have that life? I don't.
Well, I think that's interesting, though, and I love that you're talking about this because I sort of talked about this before a few weeks back. So much of our belief system, like, well, really all of our belief system is defined by our nuclear family, right? Whatever that
Mm-hmm.
looks like. And those values, where we get a lot of good values from them as well, but those values are so ingrained into every part of our psyche that when we get older, if you're not working 9 to 5 in some middle class, I'm going to say middle class because I think that that's the bulk of the world, is like,
Yeah,
you're not,
everybody really.
right? Yeah, you're not you're middle class 9 to 5, like manager at a bank or something like that, then
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But like, it doesn't make sense because not everybody
It
can be a
doesn't
manager
make
at a bank,
sense.
right? We
Yeah.
have to have our people who are working at McDonald's. We have to have our people who are CEOs. We have to have the whole thing. But we need people to be authentically themselves and doing something that they love. And that is
Yeah.
so
Yes. It's
discouraged
right. I
when
mean,
we're
my
children.
whole life growing up was like, this is the way it's always been, so this is the way it's going to be. And I
Mm.
remember even 6 years ago, I had like looked at my mom and I was like, I, I don't think I like this. And she said, Anna, nobody likes their job. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, of course, silly me to question this. And it's funny to look back at all the times I almost got it. Like, where I was like, this doesn't feel like me. And
Because it wasn't.
yeah, and then that, like, kind of that, there was one of those moments too where I realized that being good at something doesn't mean you like it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another hard one where I was like, oh, no, no.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, I like to be good at it. Do I like it? No.
It's so interesting because, we look at, I'll just use my podcast as a prime example. This podcast has not earned me a red cent.
Hmm.
And it's been almost a year. And it probably won't for the next maybe 5, 6 years. However, what this podcast has given me is something that money cannot buy. So
You get
yes,
conversations.
with people like yourself, I have met some really incredible people just doing this show. And I'm better for having these conversations. And if, like you said, if one person listens to my podcast and actually takes something away from it and it helps them, the stories that we highlight here, then that's it, right?
That's it.
So we need money, yes, to live because the world is
I
built
know.
on
That
money.
is like the
But
number one thing people fight with me about. They're like, yeah, but we can't live in fantasy world. And I'm like, okay, but there is a way to make this a little bit less miserable.
yes, absolutely. But I think you've done this now. Have you not done this now? Have you not tapped the market of being authentic and can live?
Yeah. I mean, uh, I could be doing better for
Yes,
sure.
I think we could
Uh,
always be doing better, maybe.
no, but it's none of it feels snaky. None of it feels cheesy. None of it feels like a cash grab. Like, and I can say like, hey, I provide you this morning show for $3 a month. It's not like a crazy, amount of money, and I'm doing it, but I'm also having the time of my life. Like I'm loving doing the show. I'm loving we have a Discord, and we're chatting about the show, and it's stuff like that, or like selling merch at my shows. People ask for it, so it's like, I if you want it, I will make it for you. But it's like it's just piecing it together. It's a lot of piecing it together right
Well,
now,
because I
for
think
sure.
that's the other side of it, right? So people might see you and see that you've been successful and you have your follower account and all of that stuff, but unless you have a whole team behind you, you're doing most of that by yourself, right? There's a
I think
lot,
most I would assume that there are a lot of content creators doing everything themselves.
and it's hard.
Yeah,
It is
it's
hard. I
not
need everyone to
easy.
know. I'm not a content creator. I tried. I don't- like. I've made a couple videos on Instagram that were super cringe, and but it was really hard for me. But I did it. But I'm like, no, I'm not going viral. That's not how I'm going to make my dreams come true. That's not my space. But even just doing this podcast, which is typically once a week, the amount of behind the scenes work that goes into just making
Oh,
it happen and post the interview, the fun part,
yep.
and social media trying to get, which I left. Luckily, I have a delightfully wonderful sister who stepped in and was like, I love your show. I want to post it on social media. I'm
Here you
like,
go.
here
I
you
got
go.
this for
So,
you.
and so she's doing that part. And so the show gets to have some promotion on social media as well. But I do like, yeah, it's a lot of work.
I tried to have a podcast. I lasted 4 episodes, and I said no.
But what format is your morning show?
It's on Patreon. I don't know. It just feels it's because it's supposed to be a 5-minute show, right? So it's more like YouTube than
Okay.
right, because it's five 1-minute segments. Ideally, it lasts usually like 7 or 8 minutes, um, but it's very little editing. It's the hour podcasting, and then the editing, and then the getting it up, and then also having to sit down. I don't know. It's so funny. I I have a hard. I couldn't quite get myself to sit down for that hour and like commit. I can do it for other people though. I don't know what that is.
Oh, see, and but I think that that's a value proposition, right? So if we're giving, then we have a lot more capacity if when we're trying to give to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, because I
Yes.
totally have been there. Like, somebody could ask me to do something that I've been putting off for like 5 years, but they could ask me because they need to do it, just like that, it's done, like without
Yes.
question. So
Yes,
I've
exactly.
learned that this is because we often, and it's to our own detriment, of course, but we often value others over ourselves in a lot of spaces, even when we've grown and learned and healed,
Yeah.
and that's still a journey,
I
right?
think too at one point I just kind of realized like I've learned too many new skills in the last 4 years. Like I, I can't do one more thing because I've already I can't believe that I left a job where I worked way too much, 7 days a week, and was constantly having to reinvent the wheel. And that was like my least favorite part about it was like, I just wish this would be the same like 2 days in a row, or And then I decided to become a content creator, which changes every 2 minutes and is 24 hours a day. But I am enjoying it, and none of it has felt too terrible. Today I did have some stress at a computer, and I said this is stupid. I hate it. But that's just because I've learned so many new things that like each thing is a lot.
Well, I think it's also creation fatigue because I create things. I write and
Mhm.
I sew and I do this I'm a developer as my consultant, a consultant for developing. So I'm creating all the time.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when you're done, it's just like, okay, no, my brain cannot produce another thought. I just can't. I need to give my
Yeah.
brain some time to just rest and like go for a drink. I don't actually drink, but I think my brain is an alcoholic.
Oh.
Just the brain itself, though, not me as a person. I think it likes to just skip town, go to a bar, go on a bender, and then show up the next morning just really groggy. And it's like, where were you last night? And meanwhile, this is me um, in life. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Life in Stitches by CK Sims. Available for purchase in paperback and ebook on all major platforms. Partner today with CK Sims and Poddin My Noggin to get in front of an audience that cares. You will be supporting mental health stories, tales of resilience, and uplifting content, aligning your brand with bringing goodness, authenticity, and kindness front and center. This spot could be yours. Do you have a story of struggle and resilience? One that you want to share with others and possibly help someone through their own struggles? Find the link in the show description and fill out the guest form today.
Welcome back, everybody. Before the break, we were talking to Anna Priz. I said it correctly, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And we're still
Sorry,
talking to.
my brain just went to the bar as well.
Well, there we go.
It
There we
went to the
go.
moon for a second.
Yeah, so Anna Priz and I have been having a conversation about content creation and life and creating safe spaces. And I love one of the things that you said that kind of just really made me have the goosies and feel joy in my heart was what I realized was the reason you don't find it exhausting doing the show is exactly what you said. You're in a room of people who want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But where you've been creating these safe spaces, they're creating a safe space for you in return. Isn't that beautiful?
1,000%. And someone even said it to me. They were like, just so you know, like, obviously we're here to see you and like for you to provide us this show. And she goes, but I'm more so here to support you. And I was like, that is why it feels the way it does in here. And there are shows that don't feel that way, right?
Of
There are days when I have a
course.
show and I leave and I'm like, whoa,
That was
the
different.
energy was off.
Yes. And I think that that's going to happen, right? But I think if you stop and pause a second, Anna, like, do you realize what you've created? Like,
Never. I have no concept of my reach. I have no concept of my impact, and I don't know what that is. But the live shows help a lot for me. Where
because it's
online, it's
immediate.
like you can see 1,000 comments in a row that are all like, "You changed my life," and you're like, "Okay," but someone says it to your face, and you're like, "Oh no." That's a lot of pressure, but it does have this feeling that's just like, oh, I feel so lucky, and it kind of they feed off each other now, where like now content is like the means to the thing I want to do, and so it's, I don't know. The other thing, and this has just been in the last couple of months. You know what? Literally, it's just been since the election and a little before the election. We don't have to talk about it, but I feel so free because as a content creator, you get nervous to post about stuff and you get like scared to say certain things. And there was a day when I was just like, I have to say everything I want to say. I have to say everything that I feel. You know, I don't care anymore.
You're free
I
to
may
say
never
those things here.
I may never get another brand deal, and I don't care. And do you know how free I feel knowing that when somebody says something stupid, I can just be like, "You're wrong," and I can say that publicly, and you can tell all your friends that I said that. Like, I am who I am, and I believe in what I believe in, and I, there is just like the light, like the way that I feel so free and so light in this world, even with the platform, but getting to show up as I am with like a little fear, but like almost none, of just saying whatever I want to say is like, I wish it on all of the people that I love. I wish that feeling on them.
I wish that on every single person in this world.
I guess I do
Well,
too, but
okay, that might be a slightly dangerous thing, but
some people say stuff that's
well, you know what I wish actually, to be honest with you, I wish on this world that every single person can experience true, unadulterated kindness just
yeah,
for a day, just to have it in them and have it being given to them just
yeah,
one day. And I think that the true kindness, when somebody looks at you and sees you and all of you and sees past your flaws and every single thing and just knows that you're a human being and you are deserving of love and kindness, regardless of what your rhetoric might be,
hmm,
that feeling is.
right, because we're a product of our environment, and we become our experiences. So it's true. It is. It's like I want, yeah, it's so simple. It's being treated the way you would want, like treating others the way you want to be treated, but yeah, to just experience like people accepting you exactly where you're at no matter what you're doing. That's rare, I think.
It
And
is. It really is. And
yeah,
that's what I think I love. And I think that what's so important about what you're doing is because you are being your authentic self
yeah,
in whatever that looks like in the day, the time,
yeah,
whatever. People are seeing it. And what it is, to be honest, if we're breaking it down to super simplify it, you have shown yourself a level of kindness by allowing
yeah,
yourself to do this that is emulated outward.
1,000%. And I also know, like, I'm when people are like, I would never be caught dead acting like this, and I'm like, I know, and that's a bummer. Like,
I applaud your. It does take bravery, courage, right? And courage and vulnerability are the same thing, according to Brene Brown.
yeah,
Um, so it's it's you're doing something that makes me like if I've watched some more of your bits and I get that little oh god, like I could never imagine or I couldn't like, but that's a
yeah,
limiting belief that I have placed on myself.
yeah, 100%. And it's so funny, it's like it's my second book is going to be called "Make Them Cringe" because
I don't.
because
You don't make me
oh
cringe. I just want you to know that.
no,
But
no,
it's the
I mean,
fear. It's
it's
like
I know, no, no, I know, but it's just because, I mean, that's the consensus of the minority, though, is that what I do is cringy. And I'm like, good. Like, we need to stop worrying about the way that other people perceive us, because I'm having fun. And I know that's hard to see for people who don't feel comfortable having fun in front of people and living their authentic lives and letting their belly jiggle a little, and maybe not having matching socks, and maybe recording from my bed and coming across as this person who, I don't know. It's just like I feel so sad for the women who comment, especially, who are like, I have to take care of my household, and I'm like, we all do. That doesn't mean you can't
be
wear
you.
sweatpants every once in a while and take care of you and treat yourself and be so kind to you.
The greatest,
That's
I'm
yeah.
cutting you off. I have to tell you something. And it just came to my mind. I can't believe I'm saying it out loud. But the greatest pain I experience as a human being alive in this day are the women who subscribe to the old patriarchal ways.
Yeah, it's such a
It
bummer.
guts me so hard. And I try really hard to like, there's kindness. I'll always be kind to them. But I'm just like, how detached are you from your
Oh yeah.
divine inner being that this is your
When
belief
a
system?
woman tells me I've let myself go, I'm like, let myself go from to where? To to Cozy Town? Yeah, I did let myself go there. I don't like my basic needs are met. I am fed and clothed and bathed, and I life is too long to wear hard pants. And no, I mean like in, and I love dressing up. Like it's so funny. Like people think I have some like aversion, and I'm just like, no, I show up as who I am that day. Like that's, ugh,
Well, that's license. You're giving license. Can I ask you a personal question?
of course.
Let's just say for a second that I had another guest here in the wings waiting to come
Uh
in.
huh.
And I wanted to bring this person in, and you had to give them some really good, solid life advice.
Uh huh.
Okay. And I brought them in, and it was 19-year-old you. What would you say to 19-year-old?
She can't know it's me. That's number one.
Okay.
Because she won't listen.
If she knows it's you, okay. All
Mm-hmm.
right, fine. I'll accept that for
Or
sure.
literally anybody. She's 19.
Yes.
um, the the problem, the main issue with this question, and I talk about this all the time, is that I was so deeply in my eating disorders for so much of my life. Almost nothing would have mattered, but I would not have wanted to talk to somebody of this size.
So there was judgment, a lot of judgment there.
And I hate that because it's a question I get all the time. What would you tell your younger self? And I'm like, that girl was so afraid to live for herself, was so afraid to not be what everybody else wanted to see, to not, her her fear was just she didn't know you could live for yourself and wasn't ready to hear that you could live for yourself, and also was so sick. So it's just like my life didn't change until it became unmanageable, as is wont to happen with diseases. And I have a very hard time with those questions of like younger self, or like, what would you tell her, or she'd be so proud of you now. And I'm just like, oh, you don't know her. That girl.
Well, I think that that's why I wanted to ask the question, and your take on it is very interesting, and I like it because it's
Hmm.
once again authentic. Um,
I'm also embarrassed, like, of the way that I would have treated myself. Like, I was
so,
so
have you done
deeply,
forgiveness work?
uh, uh I have, like, I did in treatment and stuff. We are we are working on our relationship. I would say I have a great relationship with 4-year-old me. We are best friends. Because she is me and I am her, and we exist together. And then there's just like this huge gap in the middle, that, and it's all the life that I'm still trying to sort, that I'm deconstructing and trying to tuck those pieces away where they belong. But it's not even that I'm need to forgive myself. It's like it's accepting that, like, you were a product of your environment. You had the information that you had. um I did not have the tools or the support that I needed to not end up that way. Uh, I mean, I'm still sitting and correcting my mom the way she speaks to me, and in all these places in my life where it's just like, oh, no wonder, poor kid. But like, she
That's
wouldn't hear you either,
that's
because
kindness.
the adults in her life were no better. It's tough.
It is tough.
And I didn't have access to the internet yet, like it came late in my life. So I always say, like, the internet saved my life now because
Hmm.
of the access to information that I have and the access to humans that I have, versus being stuck with that nuclear family. And I mean, I've probably forgiven my parents more than myself, which isn't great.
But in your own perfect timing, though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're all on a journey, so it's not to be forced or anything. I think one thing I look at now, because I've been on this journey for a long time as well, is I will not often, but every now and then I will talk to my 18-year-old self or my 16-year-old self or my 25-year-old self, because I was a dumpster fire until I was 35 and I'm 43 now. So there's a whole story there, but yes, I was a dumpster fire. And so I go back to those versions of myself and I think about who they were. And I'm not embarrassed of them anymore because I think I've like, in similar ways to you, just not say so out and in public about it. I'm unapologetic about who I've been because if those people didn't exist, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I often look back and I
It's a
say,
unique perspective to have, because I am now this, like, wildly open, wildly accepting, person living in this acceptance space. But I know when people are coming at me from a conservative, from a fatphobic, from a judgmental place of trad wives. I mean, I was, I was raised Catholic, and I was in all these boxes, and then you're just like, oh, all of this doesn't make any sense for me. Like, I
no.
don't know. Yeah, I do have that perspective, and it does help me a lot, even in my content, to be that empathetic person who's like, I know why you're saying that, and
It
I
changes
wish I
everything.
could fix it for you, but I can't, and so you're not ready for me.
That's so important too. I love that you know this because like I think when you are empathetic and you do care and you have kindness at your very core, all of those things, I think in the beginning you just want to fix everybody and there's this like you just want everyone to experience what you experience so that they can be set free. That's how on my brain sometimes it works.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I think because my history, and my history with eating disorders, and my history with knowing that I wasn't going to get there till I got there, and even when I look back now saying, "Ugh, it had to happen that way," it is knowing that I know there are people who are ready for me, but there are many, many more people who are not ready for me.
I love that though. I love that. I think that that's very wise and intelligent to know that yeah, sorry, I'm having a moment of when my wheels start turning during an interview and I have to like try and process information
No,
and
I
my
love it. Also, the reason I love doing podcast interviews is that it gets me into those little places in my brain. I mean, even you just like asked me a question that I know a lot of people ask me, but I actually answered it. Versus when I'm on stage and I don't have a lot of time, I'm just like, don't ask me that. Like, mm.
mm, but
But
no,
it
I
was nice to kind of walk through it and like, where am I? Oh yeah, I'm still there.
but see that's just it. So like as I was saying, I go back to that those versions and I thank them. Weird, I know. But I'm like, what I say is this. I thank you for getting me here safely.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know who got me here safely.
You did.
Angels.
But you did. Angels for sure. Cause like there's angels been around me my whole life. I know that.
I
But
should not have survived most of those. There's a lot of chaos.
oh, I think we're kindred spirits. But yes, I'm just yes, I felt the same way. But I do recognize that angels play their part, but we also have to play ours. And I always think, well, I thank God for everything, but I
Yeah.
always thank my younger versions for getting me here safely. And regret doesn't live here anymore.
Mm.
That's the most freest thing I've ever done. The only thing I regret, and I will be very very clear about this, is that I was mean in
Yeah.
my younger years and hurtful towards other people.
Hmm.
Um, if I could take that back, even though I know that that's part of why I care so much now and I'm so kind now, if I could take that back, I would. But to everybody I was ever mean to, I'm not sure if you ever watched my show, but I apologize. I was misguided. I didn't know what I was doing. Um, but yeah, that's the only thing. But regret about what I did or my life doesn't exist anymore because I'm just so happy with who I am today.
Yeah, I don't have any regret. I have like frustration and what a jerk you so. I had no. The problem was that I had no regard or care for my life because I wasn't. Was in such a place where, like, think of like the first day, maybe it was like the third day, but I was in inpatient treatment for eating disorders, and I lived there, and they said somebody. It was like a very blatant question, but she was like, "Would you rather be fat or dead?" And I said, "Dead," because I'm like, "How else do you think I got here?" Like, I am actively trying to be dead. I, I I have no regard for being alive, and so I made so many decisions where like it doesn't make any sense that I'm alive, and that feels so scary. I never thought about how scary that is.
Scary, yes, but for some reason I just feel like you didn't go because it was you still have purpose to.
I
And I
did,
think you're doing it
yeah,
right now.
yeah. I got help, which is crazy
The help was crazy, or
that I got it.
that
That I
you
didn't
got
just
it. So you
yeah.
recognize that you needed it at a point, and then got
Yeah,
it.
and not for noble reasons though. That's what's so funny. It's like, it wasn't like I have something wrong and I need help. I was like, I'm not getting all A's anymore, and the eating and starving myself isn't working. And I'm having like it was so misguided, but like still got me there. Right? It was like, "Hey, I need help. I don't really know why, but like I need you to fix this." And they were like, we're going to fix it, but it's not going to be the way you thought. It's going to be a little different."
It's yeah, help is important. Anybody out there who's struggling should, if you can afford it, or even if you can't, there's 988 in the
Mhm.
U.S. Right,
Yep.
Trevor Project. There's so many
Uh,
different resources
to write love
online.
on her arms also is a great they do scholarships for counseling, and they'll find like they'll set you all up in your area or
Wow,
online,
I love
and they
that.
also do free messaging.
Love this because therapy is amazing. So you found out during your inpatient stay that you had undiagnosed depression and ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
How did that sort of factor in with, because I'm thinking about it in my brain and I'm like, okay, so you battled with anorexia for your whole life.
I mean, it makes a lot more sense when you think about how little regard I had for my life. And you're like, oh, you were also depressed.
Yeah, but I'm
That's
thinking on top of that, just the ADHD.
it's a really hard thing to not know you have, because you are a burden to everybody around you. And you feel that. It's very heavy to be a burden on everybody around you who doesn't know how to deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
Who, why can't you just do it? And you don't know why. And so you spend your entire life thinking there's something wrong with you. And like, why can't you do it? I don't know. Why do
My
you do
brain won't
things
let
like that?
me.
I don't know. And it's hard to be that kid when your parents are just like exasperated with you constantly, and then you try to change and fix and fit in, and that is even harder. And then like school is not helpful when you don't have that brain like to learn in this way. And I remember I ran away, not ran away, I just walked out of first grade, and I got in so much trouble once they realized I was gone. But I was like, I was so bored. It's like so funny to think of. I said, well, I'm bored. I don't feel like, the teacher cares to have me in the classroom. Like, why do you care that I left? I can tell that I'm frustrating. And you're like, I am frustrating you. And I can feel that. And I don't know how to fix it. So it's kind of like I'm going to remove myself from all these situations.
Similarly, I just stopped talking in class. I didn't have a choice not to go, but just tried to play small, really,
Yeah.
really small, and that's a lot. You're right for a child to deal with. Now, you've written a book.
Yeah.
Now I know what it's called because I looked at it 3 times. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I want to. Oh, darn it. It's something. Smarten up, cutie. Keep it up, cutie. Okay, I was close. I was sort of close. I just knew it was really cute. And one of the things that I loved about you had mentioned earlier that you enjoy dressing up,
Mhm.
and you were styled for this photo that I saw with you holding the book, and I
Yeah.
was like, damn, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, right? And I thought to myself, I'm like, it's lovely to see the all of the different
Yeah.
versions
And
of
I get to be
Anna.
all those things.
Absolutely. And I just love that. So you've written the book. When was the book released?
Last February.
Last February, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And are you still selling copies of the book?
Yes, and this will be its first Christmas season, and it's a very good gift.
It is a really
So,
good gift. And where
and
can
it's
people
a
buy it?
you can
Everywhere?
buy it everywhere. But if you want signed copies, you can go to my website. And there's signed
Which
copies
I
there.
know your website is. You should not give me your website, actually.
It's
Uh,
akprzy.com.
it's going to be in the description
Yeah,
for people to go.
yes.
So, great Christmas present.
It's the best Christmas present.
Best Christmas
And
present.
people always don't think they need it because it's pink and sparkly and it has rainbows. But then it's just like my content where it's pink and sparkly and it has rainbows. And then the message grabs you by your heart.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Heart messages are needed, especially after the
But I
election.
sneak them in between the rainbows. So you don't
Yes.
know what's happening. It's like I always say my content and my book is like when you feed a kid vegetables but you like blend them up, it like into a mac and cheese sauce or something.
Yep.
That's my content.
That's how you deliver your content. I love that. Before we go, would you do me the honors and say your tagline?
Yeah, to keep it up cutie one, I assume, or the other one.
The one I mentioned at the beginning of the show.
It's called manifesting. Look it up.
Yes.
I was like, what is it?
Which one is
I,
the keep it up cutie?
it's just like it's how I close most of my videos.
I love it. I remember the first time I saw that
Yes, and that's
clip.
in here too. It's called manifesting. Look it up.
Yes, I loved it. Wasn't it raining?
It's like rain, snow, sleet, hail.
Yeah,
It's
it
out
was,
there
and your
shouting.
bare feet as well,
Yeah,
I think.
I'm.
And
You
I'm
gotta
like,
ground yourself.
I know, but I'm like, lady, I'm like, it's cold outside. You're gonna catch a cold.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm gonna catch a cold. My studio's off my garage, and I don't have a space heater yet. So earlier I saw my breath, and I was like, "Oh, that's probably not good."
It's the special effects for the show. Yeah, you should probably get warm.
I'm gonna get
Anna,
a space heater soon.
it has been an absolute pleasure.
This was wonderful, by the way.
Thank you. You're wonderful. I love what you're doing. I love your message. I hope that people will find healing, continue to find healing through your
Hmm.
messaging, their safe space, recognize that it's okay to just let yourself be whoever it is you want to be. As long as you're
Yes.
kind. I'm just going to add that little
As long as you
tagline.
don't hurt anybody or yourself.
Yes, there we go. Right? Like that. Those are like, instead of like growing up with 99,000 stipulations to be the person, it's just those two really. Don't hurt others and don't hurt yourself.
Okay, I'll just
Then,
tell you. Okay, I say you get one life, and there are 2 rules. Okay, and it's don't be a shitty person and try to have some fun.
I like those rules. Very
That's it.
simple, very easy.
Yeah. And then the stipulations are like, as long as you're not hurting anybody or yourself. And
Well, I think that might be captured in the don't be a shitty
I
person.
know, yeah, but some people like
But
miss it. And it's like,
yeah, so
okay,
you like
okay.
reiterate,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm like, just look, this is a fine print. Like, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt others.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Nothing.
You
Content, morning show, pushing this book for Christmas.
Love this. I will link this book. Head out, pick it up. Cheer
I know
up,
they have it
cutie.
at
Oh my God,
Barnes
what's
and
wrong with
Noble.
my brain today?
It's okay.
Please bring it back up. It's keep it up, cutie. Why do I keep saying? I wanted to say something else. Keep it up, cutie. It's going to be linked on the show. I'm going to go get myself a copy as well.
Yeah.
But I might do it through your website so I can get a signed copy.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thanks for having me.
And there'll be links for you to find Anna, who's far more popular than I am. So, but if you don't know who Anna Priz is yet, I will give you the links so that you can go find her on social media. Her content is very uplifting and very refreshing. To everybody out there, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Poddin My Noggin. Until next time, go live your wildest dreams.
For media and sponsorship inquiries, email info@cksims.com or visit cksims.com and fill out the contact form. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode airs every Saturday. CKS Media.